Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is my rant on the 2018 direct-to-streaming slasher film, Minutes to Midnight. Now, before I go any further and eviscerate this terrible, just awful slasher movie, I would like to give a special shout out to Mark for requesting this review. And if there is another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal or to my Patreon. Link to both is in the video description down below, and I will try to get to your request as soon as I possibly can. And sorry for kind of getting stuck there in my words. It's because my brain is already starting to freeze because it doesn't want to talk about Minutes to Midnight. So, Minutes to Midnight is directed by Christopher Ray, and this is a guy who has directed nothing. Like, nothing worth a shit. Everything that he's directed is something that either you've never heard of, or if you have heard of it, it's one of the worst movies that you've seen. I mean, just look at this masterful filmography. You've got Reptosaurus, Megaconda, Mega Shark versus Crocosaurus, Almighty Thor, Two-Headed Shark Attack, Shark Week, The Silicon Assassin Project, Asteroid versus Earth, Mercenaries, that piece of crap rip-off of The Expendables that had Cynthia Rothrock in it, Mega Shark versus Colossus, Three-Headed Shark Attack, Circus Kane, A House Is Not a Home, Minutes to Midnight, Dick Dickster, Second Chance for Christmas, a Hallmark Christmas movie. I think I've noticed that with all these hack directors who, for some reason, have like 20 or 30 or 50 films in their filmography, have all directed one, if not multiple, Hallmark Christmas movies. You've also got Top Gunner, America versus Russia, and Attack of the Meth Gator. And he's got two more coming, Night of the Living Dead and Dragpires. I wonder what Dragpires is about. Oh, it's probably about vampires and drag for some reason. That is the kind of filmography. That is the kind of movies that this guy is known for. Oh, and by the way, he also uses the pseudonym of uh, Christopher Olin Ray, which I'm like, does that mean that he's actually related to Fred Olin Ray? Is this Fred Olin Ray's son? Is that who this guy is? Because if it is, I mean, like, hey, like father, like son, from one incompetent director to another. Yeah, his dad is Fred Olin Ray. This is the son of Fred Olin Ray. So Fred Olin Ray's disastrous directorial efforts and his directorial legacy continues with his son, with Christopher Ray. The direction in this is really bad. The only thing I can give it any credit for is the framing is okay. It's adequate. But when it comes to the usage of camera angles, the usage of pans, zooms, not so much. Especially when it comes to the usage of slow-mo, this director over-relies upon slow-mo to the point where it's a joke. I mean, all of the kill scenes feature multiple amounts of slow-mo. All of the fight scenes feature slow-mo, and it's not done in a stylish or a good way. It's just really bad slow-mo. It just makes the director's incompetence even more obvious. And like, there's a lot of scenes where the camera doesn't really have a whole lot of movement. It might decide to focus on one person in the scene, and then maybe the next, but there's not really a lot of unique or interesting focus with the camera. It's just very bland and boring, and it's not very forgiving when it comes to the low budget. It definitely looks like a very low budget movie. It looks like the kind of shit that you would have made with your friends back in high school or college if you rented a camera from the school. Or you used your friend who has a decent amount of money and you borrowed his camera and then made some shitty home movies. That's basically the majority of the direction that you get in Minutes to Midnight. I would say in this film, there's about maybe a couple minutes of decent direction. Everything else is dog shit. Now, the script isn't much better by Victoria Dottie and Christopher M. Dawn. Just like the director, neither of these writers have written a film that is remotely good. I mean, the writer of House is Not a Home, 2012 Ice Age, Airline Disaster. That's Victoria Dottie. Christopher M. Dawn, whose IMDb page is him putting up some horns while he's holding a copy of his shitty movie that he wrote that he decided to pick up from the local Walmart. Um, yeah, this is his output. Minutes to Midnight, Restricted Area, and Witch Trials. That's it. And this script, it's so dumb. And it's the kind of screenplay that it doesn't add anything new. It doesn't put a new spin on anything that you haven't already seen before in the slasher genre. So you have a group of dumb college kids who also work at like a business or something, or interns or whatever. They decide to go on a retreat together to celebrate something. I think New Year's, because it takes place on New Year's Eve. So they decide to go to a cabin in the woods to go celebrate New Year's. Their boss is like, "Hey, don't do this. Don't go to the cabin in the woods." They're like, "Fuck it, we're going and we're gonna party." None of the characters who are the main cast are really that likable. Most of them are really painful attempts to try to be funny, or just a guy or multiple people who are just douchebags or bitches. And then you got this other guy. Then you have like the two. I wouldn't say two. Like there's a handful of girls who are not as obnoxious as the other people, but they're just boring and bland. So there's no one in this cast of characters. There's no single character in this entire script that you really root for, you really feel for, you really sympathize with, even though it tries to do some stuff like with this one girl who she wants to get married to her boyfriend. Her boyfriend proposes to her in the beginning of the movie, and then her boyfriend gets killed by these killers and she's held captive. Like you're supposed to sympathize with her, but like it's just done in such a boring way. You don't really give a shit. Same thing goes for this other girl who is in love with this other guy who works for the company, and it's a whole bunch of I don't really care. It doesn't really give me much of a reason to care. And if the kills were good, then that might have been something, but they're not. The kills even suck. It's a slasher film that doesn't have a single kill that is honestly that memorable, except for maybe one kill where the hulking killer named Angus, he takes a mace that he's made out of a human skull and hits somebody in the face with it. But other than that there's nothing else. There's really lame decapitations. There's a kill where he slices some woman that's laying prone in a bed, and then she bleeds out the entire quantity of a kiddie pool, which is not at all how the human body works. Then just generic stabbings and slashings, or stuff that happens off screen because they don't have the budget to show the kill. It's pathetic, really. Shooting people with arrows, slitting throats, like just nothing to it at all in terms of the kills. Even the kills are boring. And there's one scene at a party where the killers show up and kill everybody at the party. You can't tell what the hell is happening or who is killing who or what the killers are doing or what they're using in terms of weapons or how they're killing these people because it's shot in a way that's so painful to watch with strobe lights that are blinding you in the fucking face and quick cut editing. I mean, I don't know who the hell thought that was a good idea in terms of uh adding that into the movie. It just gives you a headache. And the movie's already bad enough. It already gives you a headache as it is. Didn't need that. I mean, this is a film that is so bad it has like 20 different shots of a cabin in the woods with smoke at night. Like it's such a repetitive shot that you could make a drinking game out of it. And trust me, you would be so inebriated and intoxicated by the halfway point, you'd be almost into a coma. There's this guy who's also searching for his missing brother named Travis. Well, he's the brother of the same guy who was going to propose to this other girl and then he got killed at the beginning. Yeah, there's a lot of typical standard stuff with the college kids at the cabin. They just want to get laid. They just want to drink and party. And there's a guy who's just there for comic relief, but he's not funny at all. Like, I hate it when scripts have that character in anything. Whether it's a slasher film or a comedy or a rom-com or an action movie or any genre you can think of, when you have a character like Richie in this who's just drunk all the time or high and is saying all of this crazy shit in some really painful attempt to be funny and no joke lands, it's really brutal to watch. And it's honestly one of my least favorite things when it comes to these kind of films. Like just stop. You're not funny. It's not working. It's not clever. It's not witty. I'm not laughing. This is just cringe. Stop this shit. And then you have this cop who I guess is also connected with things named Derek, who's a sheriff. And I think he's somewhat connected with the guy who is the boss of these college kids named Mr. Walters. And like they're friends or something. And there's a family of killers. Gimple, Angus, and Calypso. And the script is trying to do something big and grand with twists and shit and motivation for the killers. And it's another thing I really don't care about. It just bogs this already boring film down even more, trying to add depth to this honestly a bunch of rip-off Texas Chainsaw Massacre characters. Like the one guy, Angus, wears a mask, tattered clothes, and grunts. He might as well be Leatherface's brother or some shit, his long lost brother from another mother. And you got this woman named Calypso who is like, I guess she's scarred and looks like she's straight out of a sci-fi movie. Like not even the designs of the costumes even match what they're trying to do. Even that is something they can't even get right when it comes to this movie. And then you got Gimple, who's just this guy who honestly is a reject for the Devil's Rejects, who's like got a full-on beard and wearing people's scalps as wigs and making paintings out of human blood. There's nothing consistent. There's no consistency with this family. They just seem random and like pulled out of a hat. So it plays out exactly how you think it's going to. The college kids go to the cabin. They ignore all the warnings. There's supposed to be a storm coming. The sheriff comes and tells him, "Hey, you should go home. There's a storm coming. It's not safe here. There was like a bunch of people were murdered in these woods." And the college kids are like, whatever. We're gonna stay here and party and get drunk and have sex. And then the family, they come in and start killing people one by one, and ultimately it's up to Travis and Sheriff Wyatt and a couple of the other survivors to stop the family. And they stop the family in just a very boring, forgettable fashion. Just some really shitty fights. Oh, and there's a twist at the end, which is revealed that their boss, Mr. Walters, is actually the father of this murderous family, and so he's in on the whole thing. Um, but ultimately, he gets killed by one of the victims that he was trying to get the family, to Angus or some of the other killers to kill, and they survive and then kill him. There was something involving Mr. Walters forcing one of these women who were interchangeable because they had similar backstories, and the actresses that they cast all looked very similar and were both blondes. So honestly, I had a hard time telling which was which. And so one of them, I believe it's Emily, she has to drink this whole thing of scotch. This whole decanter, I think that's what it is, of scotch. Otherwise, Angus is going to kill this other woman. And of course, she's not able to do it. So Angus kills the other woman. And her boyfriend's also tied up, and the boyfriend escapes and helps out along with Travis. So her boyfriend fends off Calypso. Travis fends off Angus. Mr. Walters gets taken out by either Emily or Chloe. And Gimple was already killed earlier on, by the way. He was dispatched pretty quickly in another forgettable way. In such a forgettable way, I honestly forgot how he died. I fucking forgot how Gimple died. And that's a character that Bill Mosely played in this movie. It's saying a lot that I forgot how the character played by Bill Mosely died in this piece of shit. So you think, okay, good has triumphed over evil. Travis and Emily's boyfriend, Michael, they save the day along with Sheriff Wyatt. But no, Angus gets back up because I guess he's now like Jason Voorhees and will not die, even though he's supposed to be just a regular guy who got burned. And then he grabs an axe and he stabs Sheriff Wyatt in the chest. And then the story just stops. It's like the writers gave up. They're like, "Oh man, I guess we could just stop here. I mean, fuck it. I already got paid. I don't give a shit." It's not like that many people are gonna watch this shit on Tubi or buy this on DVD at Walmart. So that's literally what happens. It just fucking stops. There's no proper conclusion or ending to anything. These screenwriters are so incompetent and so bad at what they do, or so lazy that they don't even end the story. It just stops. Angus gets up, stabs the sheriff in the chest or in the shoulder with the axe, and then it stops. You don't know what happens after that. You don't know if Angus continues his killing spree. You don't know if everybody who supposedly survived is now dead. You don't know what the status of the family is. You don't know anything. You don't know jack shit. There's nothing that's ever resolved, ever really completed in terms of, we found out that their boss was the family of this group of killers. But other than that, that's it. And even if I was interested in this movie, even if I did wind up getting into these characters. The way it ends, you could basically insinuate that the killer kills everybody. So it doesn't even have a satisfying ending, even if you were into the story and into the characters, which I definitely was not, especially when it comes to this really annoying douchebag uh, who was just trying to sleep with this one girl who was way above him in every possible way. Like this guy is way out of her league, Richie, and he's just drunk or high or both, and just obnoxious as hell. Or this other guy named Kyle who he just constantly is annoyed with Travis to the point where it's just really unbelievable that this guy is just like, oh, this fucking Travis guy, I'm gonna go kick his ass because he interrupts him wanting to drink at the cabin because the guy's looking for his brother, or he interrupts him, or he thinks that he's interrupting him and his girlfriend while they're having sex. That guy was insufferable too. And took way too long to die. That's the other thing. Like a lot of the most insufferable characters, they don't die early on. They linger on. They hang around. So it makes this already bad movie even worse. And it's not like it's a clever satire of anything either. It's not. It's just a really bad, generic, boring slasher movie that is really dull or really annoying. And then you have the cast, and I can't really say a whole lot about the cast. I mean, William Baldwin taking a paycheck as Mr. Walters. What happened to William Baldwin? When did he just basically start imitating his brother, Alec? Because that's basically all that William Baldwin's performance is in this movie. He's just doing a pale imitation of his brother Alec, right down to the cadence. He sounds so much like his brother in this that he might as well just get jobs doing voiceovers for Alec if Alec is not available or Alec doesn't want to do a movie. Well, they can just hire his brother William and he'll just dub lines for the AI version of Alec Baldwin in the future because he flat out he does not differentiate himself anymore from his brother. It's nuts. He never used to sound exactly like his brother. He didn't sound like that in Backdraft. He didn't sound like that in Fair Game. He didn't sound like that in a lot of the other movies he did to start his career. But now, like, he sounds exactly like his brother. It's insane. It's like he just became Alec Baldwin. And then you got Richard Grieco, who's taking another paycheck, and just really just delivering low effort with low energy. Bill Mosely, who I love, just doing a pale imitation of Chop Top, or trying to do a character from The Devil's Rejects, and it's just honestly sad. Christopher Judge, who was one of the main characters in Stargate SG-1. Yeah, he plays a forgettable character in Ranger Tasso. You got Viva Bianca as Emily, Dominique Swain as Chloe, the two blonde chicks that are so alike. I can't even tell the difference between the two right now. Even looking at their pictures in IMDb, you could swap them and I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's Dominique, that's Viva. John Hennigan, who you might recognize as John Morrison, you know, from wrestling, from WWE. Yeah, he's in this as Travis Krenna. I would say out of all the actors, he was the one that did the best job. Which when it comes to a cast and John Morrison is the best actor in your cast, that's a really bad cast. Bryce Draper is Michael. Sarah Fletcher, Sophia, Macy Crut third. It's a weird name. Macy Crutherd as Heather, Mercy Malik as Calypso, Kawhi Lyman as Charlie, Jenna Sims as Tiffany, Aaron Aguilera as Angus, Jared Cohn as Richie, Philip Andre Botello as Kyle. Like all of these actors and actresses, just below average performances by all of them. They get a D, like barely a passing grade. And then you have like other aspects of the film that really aren't much at all. There's really not much to say about them. Like the cinematography by Laura Beth Love, definitely didn't love that. The editing by Bobby K. Richardson, that was really excruciating, especially when it comes to the way that the slow mo scenes were shot, the kills, the fight scenes, the strobe light sequence. It's a really bad film when it comes to the editing. It's just a lot of bad editing after bad editing, and then even more bad editing on top of that. The music by Ryan Owen Detlefson, um, it's pure defecate. Like this score sucks. I'm honestly surprised. It's so bad. It stinks. And I'm really surprised that it's by an actual composer because it sounds like shit that you would have gotten for free off of Creative Commons or off of the YouTube free music section. It doesn't sound like anything that's an original piece. It sounds so uh, generic, so uh, out of place most of the time too. Like it doesn't even match the tone of the scene that it's in the majority of the time. It literally sounds like shit you would hear in the background of a YouTube video, like a YouTube video essay or a YouTube vlog. It doesn't sound like anything you would actually hear from a score for a horror movie. What else is there to say about this piece of shit? Like I even got an abundance of tits and that couldn't save this. It is bloody, but that doesn't mean that it's good. And it's a slasher film that doesn't even get the base or the most basic thing correct when it comes to a slasher movie. You don't even get good kills. So you don't get good kills. It's boring, it's predictable. If there are twists, they're not anything that's really that surprising. And then it doesn't even have a satisfying ending. So it just feels like it wasted your fucking time. So yeah, Minutes to Midnight is a bad movie. Like it's a shitty slasher for sure. And I would not recommend it unless you have this unrelenting desire to watch every single slasher movie ever made. Or better yet, don't even bother with this movie. Just listen to 2 Minutes to Midnight by Iron Maiden, or listen to the entire album Power Slave on repeat for an hour and 20 something minutes. Because trust me, either one of those things is going to be a hell of a lot more rewarding and exciting and fun and worth your time than sitting through Minutes to Midnight.